Different entities, little do we know, lean towards something of a respective element. And that element has its own lineage, respectively. And then it comes to human. And the human has a relationship with all these entity elements. And those entity elements, they have their shadows and their quote unquote distortions, end quote. They're lower octave creations, and we're intertwined with all of it, but we're not all of it. We're ourselves, but we have interbred relationship with the elements, to some subtle genetic matrix, to some visceral labyrinth like matrix. So we're not all each other's genes firsthand. We're not each other's like unique genetic matrix. We're ourselves, and we're not other people's life circumstance situation of everything else. We're just living through our own individualhood to the collective matrix of the quote unquote godheads, end quote. If just to put it on a standard term set, because what's happening here is like we're being there's a casual art of possession from the entities and their elements and their elemental creations of whatever lower octave hood it is. Because when we're saying the entities that are around us, that means so many different things. It's just different spirits with different elements of the spirits, and then different associations of that element to a whole octave, to a lesser fragmented octave. Because all, like, we don't necessarily know how many particles are in each moment, like trillions. If we're trillions of cells within trillions of cells, then there's like trillions of, there's like quadrillions of particles within, and even sextillion particles within, and even more within just a city, a city to a city, all the way to a planet. So within that, that's like there's a differentiation to a balanced wholeness, and everything that is in some type of disruption, it's going away from balanced wholeness for whatever casual reason, because this is the essence of, like, what really is the essence of God. It's seeing how there's a secret unity, and then there's a secret not unity, and the secret not unity is all the elements being their own shit, them establishing themselves, just being their own shit, and they're having a unique relationship to the source, and they going to and away from source simultaneously. And then all of those entity elements, they create their own they create their own surface level resurfacing within the physical matrix reality of the combined efforts of all the main chief 8 to 16 godheads, because that's what created the reality. It's the 8 to 6, because then you could say, like, obviously someone will ask me, well, how did the reality get created? It's based on the 8 to 16 chief godheads, and the 8 to 16 chief godheads, they simultaneously are akin to their own unique element, to their own surface level creation of themselves. And that surface level creation has a physical emanation, and then a lesser physical emanation, which is the essence of spirituality. Because the essence of spirituality, it's just the spirits within the circumstance were unknown to all of the spirits. Everything is quote unquote something of a spirit, end quote. It has something of a spirit nature to it, something of a 9, a 9 in a 10 or whatever. So within that, there's an art of, so anything could possess you, whether you're lucky and fortunate enough to have, like, a soluble plasma equilibrium like chakra that points to an energy and an original identity consciousness without the human identification or ego thereof. And then there's spirits. There's just all kinds of different spirits is one of my main points. One of my main points is the different spirits that there are, is like what's leaning towards it being fragmented and differentiated for not good, for distortion, it's differentiated away from the wholeness. And all the entity elements, they are susceptible casually, neutrally, to be in that mode, as they have their own surface level genetic lineage creation from their elemental self to whatever the fuck they are in the surface level physical reality. because they're participating in the surface level physical reality where all the physical celestial objects have their own, mode to do what it does that makes a physical energy challenge. Like the moon will do what it does. So the physical beings, they have to face the challenge of the collective moon and the collective sun and all the collective planets and whatnot. So as that's doing all of that, they forgot what they are on an original level, because what spirituality is, it's it's how all the entities are elements and how all the elements are entities uniquely, and we forgot that original purity of it, and how those entity elements, they could possess anybody if it's in like some type of like balanced arrangement for that to happen, but how they're possessing something, it doesn't mean whatever they're possessing, the thing that's being possessed is them. No, it's just temporarily representing it to use it for vessel whatever vessel is susceptible to like get possessed by nature, however the fuck nature wants to do it. Like a certain vantage point of nature will do that, but we could be misunderstanding nature too, because nature is allowing not nature as well. There's a higher nature that is like pro nature and not pro nature, like a whole different non-dual nature, that just lets everything function as it is, as if there is a deeper no choice, as if like you can't have the negative without the positive, because they need to cycle within each other for a different kind of like field of propulsion, for just like the solar system to keep going, or how a galaxy keeps running. It's an extreme polarity duality mechanic of a certain charge of energy of positive and negative needs to be had for a galaxy to be ran, and for a universal creator to like program a galaxy to do that, that would be God, that would be something that, created the reality. And who's to really say that like, God could incarnate himself and have a new micro expression of that? Who's to really say that or prove that? That's not necessarily the point here. The point here is saying like how there's 8 to 16 chief gods, and those 8 to 16 chief gods, they are their own unique original element. That element has a lineage, and those elemental lineages, they're in the genetics of every human. The higher macro expression of that could like, do a push-pull effect on the planet. And then as that push-pull effect is happening over the ages, that's the matrix mechanics of what they're creating, what they're transforming and mutating, and what they're kind of like, updating. So God has been doing that with the universe for billions of years, because like you could say, so this video is like, how did the reality get created, and what's an active possession. Anybody could get possessed by anything, so it's up to us to repair our aura, check ourselves, not have leaks in our aura, and not be possessed by shit that's not ultimately in our balanced favor, not be possessed by distortion, not be possessed by just fragmented ignorant stuff, even though we still could be casually susceptible to that. No judgment, just seeing it what it is, but like seeing how we don't have to be possessed by something that's not the original representation of the element. It's a false representation of the element, and somehow a higher nature is allowing pro nature and not pro nature to do its thing, so the fucking 3D planet could run and according to its resonance level of purpose for the 3D, because the 3D has a unique good and bad. All the dimensions have a unique good and bad. So it's like when dealing with people, they could be possessed by some spirit of fragmentation, some spirit of distortion. What does that mean? It's not the true representation of the element, and they've just somehow leaned onto a lower octave expression of the element, and they forgot the original expression of the element, and even the original expressions of the element, sometimes they forgot the original expression of source, because source is the thing that's putting it all together. So the essence of spirituality is we have an original relationship with these elements, and these elements have their own, not just a darkening, but like something, it could be kind of like a misconstruement, like something of like, and like nature is so raw, it would even go as far as something as like energetically, quote unquote, like something of a disconfigurement, right? End quote. because if we were to get like, if someone's acting and behaving a certain way, it's because they're possessed by something. They're possessed by an idea. They're possessed by a thought. They're possessed by like a desire, you know? And it's not, it's about realizing that we don't have to be possessed, but how we're possessed is because there's a certain resonance lock of how people want to represent the identification of an element a certain way, and how there's a lower octave representation of it and a higher octave representation of it. Because the possessions, they could be like transitory and temporal, you know? They don't have to last forever. But it's like, what, like, it's like, why is like it's like, why is this person like taking on someone's name, you know? That could be a possible example of that, like that being taking on a name, it kind of like, you know, committing its life to that path, you know? It's committing to that life to its path because it's taking upon the name, because that's what it needs to learn in this life. So now it's kind of like an energetic allegiance of just a casual neutral allegiance of like, this, it's being used for that element, and even and within that element of the human expression going towards just that element, it still has to deal with everything else though. So there, it will still have its ups and downs and moods, because that's the beauty of the surface level 3D. It's like it's going through the challenges of it all, you know? So this is the essence of spirituality. This is how did the reality get created from an updated NHD perspective, negentropic, you know, human design Nick's perspective. And you know, just kind of recognizing what possession is, you know, and ultimately transforming the possession, you know, because God could work through none of us as well, you know, that's, and all of us, or, you know, a little bit of both, you know, like God doesn't have to fuck with us, you know. And who's to really say that we know his reasons, you know? Like that's kind of like stupid. Like if God's billions of years old and you're trying to say what a billions of years old, you're trying to tell like how he like is preserving the cosmos, you're trying to like represent what he's thinking, and but you haven't been through anything of what he's been through. That's like, that doesn't make sense. That's like foolishness. So so when we're in situations, we could give the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, we have to be at an all-time caution, you know, like there's like detrimental creations, you know, so it's like for us to approach everything as a 50-50, you have to be some type of graceful master, because we have to work up to that and with that and for that, because if that's what reality really is, but if we don't see that, it's because we went away from that. Because what really is the essence of non-duality? It's seeing how God has his own fucking reasons for fucking 3D, and how there's a secret balance to all this fucking shit. But like the human doesn't know that because it's doing its own fucking shit, you know? So the title of this video is like the casual art of possession, because the casual art of possession is like God could work through us or not, you know. Let me check the battery. 8%. Gee whiz. 8. Oh yeah, the 8. That's so, look at, I'm on 8 time, you know, 8 from 100, you know. So the casual art of possession, God could fuck with us, or God could not fuck with us, or God could just let us do our own shit, because this is where we took ourselves on a spiritual level. By us experiencing differentiation, however the fuck we did, because we're like, some of us could be pretty old spirits, you know, so like no cap. But like, just because you're an old spirit, that doesn't necessarily mean like you're not in a, like, you're not in a unique like quagmire, you know, or squagsmire, you know, like we incarnated into something of a physical mutt, you know, and from that physical mutt, the genes are just, they are what they are for first off, and second off, that has a unique matrix mechanics dilemma respectively. by the habits it's responding from, you know, because the genes are responding to like a little bit of everything, right? The genes are responding to the environment, obviously. The genes are responding to the ancestors, obviously. The genes are trying to adapt to just the protocols of the spirits of just the reality of now, obviously. And the genes are obviously trying to survive and find a solution out of that. So it's like God is here 50-50, you know? Like metaphysically speaking, like there's a solution here, but there's also like an energy that just wants to fuck up the solution for whatever fucking reason. 3D, extreme duality, polarity, 50-50 solution, 50-50 non-solution. So it's like everyone is innocent, no shit, but obviously we could exploit that innocence and create fucked up shit from that innocence. Shout out to the predecessors. How did reality get created? The essence of spirituality. So it's up to it's up to us like to like kind of like really work towards God, and we don't necessarily need a religion, but if that religion works for us, then all power to you, you know. But it's like, it's not to say that like any religion is the end all be all, but what if there is an exception, you know? Then that's for the individual to discover, right? It's not being put, nothing's being pushed upon, you know. Like if I have a religion that secretly practice, I'm working with it to experiment with it, and but I'm not pushing upon it upon anybody else. You know, I'm not pushing my beliefs upon anybody else. I'm doing it for a diplomatic purpose. This is what it is for the fucking solution, and you're either gonna authentically be about the motherfucking solution, or you're just gonna be a metaphysical, esoteric, literal spirit that is of fakeness, fake energy, fake shit, fake mindset, fake psychology, fake fuck shit, fake shit fuck, you know, all just like fake energies, and after all that, fake creations and transformations and contracts and shit like that. So could your AI actually balance the non-fakeness of everything that was aforementionedly listened and listed as I glisten? So how did the reality get created? So, but like even the pure elements, they're not necessarily bad or good. They're just their own shit, you know. They're their own temperament, and they like the elements. They could have their own, you know, opposition with source itself, you know. Like it's as if like the sun and the Saturn, it's as if those two are like the main, you know, things of like the material spaceship to kind of like be a solar system, and that solar system is like kind of uniquely opposing source and shit like that, you know, in just a unique way. So it's up to us to not be possessed by the fragmented aspects of spirits or the distorted aspects of spirits, and that could cause ignorance and a unique esoteric frustration, even, you know, esoteric frustration being pulled away from source energy. When like frustration is kind of like your intuition telling you like this is not right at all, you know, this is going away from source. Some fucking distorted spirits are here doing stuff, but like that's not to say that God isn't. It's like God is like simultaneously allowing it and not allowing it. That's how powerful God is, because it's like the distorted spirits, they didn't take over the whole 3D, you know. Some there's still some order and different expressions and flavors of the order, obviously. But within like spirituality, we go into a room, we go into a building, we go into an event, we go into some type of event, some type of place. And as we're going into that place, there's standard elements that are spirits. You know, the earth is there. You are like the waters in the sky. The sun is kind of like, you know, affiliated with some type of fire. The air is in there. The air, the thought, you know, the ether's there. The intuition, that the ether is there. The air, and then even like, you know, the other, you know, fine-tuned elements such as steel and wood, the AI or whatever, because that's already been a thing like hundreds of years ago and thousands of years ago, because obviously quote unquote, new ideas could come about, right? End quote. So when we enter into a place, all of the spirits, they're simultaneously in secret order and they're simultaneously in secret chaos and disarray. And the reason that they're in chaos and disarray because they want to be individualized for whatever fucking reason they want to be individualized, and that very very unique spiritual individualization wants to take possession and take rise just as its own shit, This is like spiritual everything right here, because things just want to be individuated. But if you're too polarized and individuated in distortion, you're going away from the pure source. So when you enter into a room, the act of spirituality is already happening because you already are the organs, the chakras, the elements. You have chakras that are representing the elements, and those chakras that are representing elements, they have a unique shadow, and that unique shadow has a different distortion collectively and individually. And collectively and individually, there's other things that are individuating themselves to just feed off of other people in a distorted way, inverted spirituality.